Hey guys, Riot NPC Battles. I just wanted to say something real quick before the video started. Um, I hate to ask this as I never really had to before, but currently we're going through some financial difficulties with the wreck happening with the medical bills and me being out of work. Um, if you want to, you can donate onto the YouTube video itself, and those proceedings will go directly to me, no one else. And I can use that towards the bills that I am facing occurring after this wreck that I had. Um, if you would, it would mean the world to me for you guys doing that. Again, if not, no fault at all. I totally understand. Um, if you don't want to, don't do it. I totally understand. I'm definitely not telling you guys, I would never in 100 million years tell you guys to do anything. It's your money. Do with it as you please. I'm not going to be upset, but if you do want to donate, what you're going to do is go on this video. If you're in full screen, get out of full screen and go under the title to the right where the like buttons are, and you should see a thanks button. You can press that and you can move the slider from $2 to 25 if you want to, all the way to 500 if you want to. um, don't worry about doing the 500, that's a lot of money. So even if you do $2, that would be freaking awesome. I really appreciate it if you can do that, but obviously anything helps. um, I really appreciate it, and let's get into what happened into the main video. Thank you. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Riot NPC Battles, and this is my explanation video, I guess you could call it. A little bit of a different video than what you guys are probably used to. Um, if you saw my post on YouTube on the 7th, I think it was, maybe it was the 8th, I made a post explaining that I was in a wreck, and a pretty serious one at that. Um, I guess in today's video, I'm just going to go over kind of what happened, what transpired, just so you guys aren't in the dark when I'm coming back to YouTube. But I'm going to try my hardest to kind of like go over every single detail with complete transparency so you guys know what's going on. Let's get into what's going on with the channel. Basically, we're almost at 10K, which is awesome. This isn't exactly how I pictured me looking at 10K. Before I get into that, though, I do want to say thank you guys for all of the support that you guys have shown me when I made that post on that day. I was kind of loopy when I made that post, and I apologize to anyone if they kind of got caught off guard with that, because I kind of just posted a picture of like my injuries and stuff. I mean, mind you, at that point it wasn't really that bad compared to what it was before, but I'm sure people who were just on YouTube scrolling probably didn't want to see a head full of stitches and blood and all that stuff. So again, it's my fault, but I'm really not going to show too much of the injuries on here because again, I don't want to like show you guys graphic stuff on YouTube. Plus, YouTube might not like that. This is pretty much as much as you're going to see about it. I do have a few things on my hand right here. And I'll explain why my voice is getting all messed up too. It's part of the story. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys and everything you guys did. You guys were awesome. When I was in the hospital, I was in a hospital for a total of like 3 days or something like that. And all the support you guys gave was awesome. I really appreciate all that. Reading the comments, you guys were super supportive, sending me prayers, blessings, all that stuff. And I really needed it at the time, man, because I was going through the ringer, not even physically, but also mentally. Um, Shout out to my family. My wife was a major, major supporter. She literally lent every single part of her energy, every single little ounce of her energy, making sure that I was okay. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. She really, she really went out of her way to make sure that I was okay. Family, friends, thank you guys as well. You guys kept my spirits up. Um, the flood of people just sending me texts and calls and making sure that I was okay. It made me feel like everything was going to be okay. And in the time, I was very, very scared on what was going to happen. Um, anyway, let's get into the actual story itself. So, on Saturday morning, on the 7th, I believe it was, um, I was driving home from a city called Destin. I live in Defuniak Springs, which is about an hour and 10 minutes, give or take, I would say. I got in the wreck around 4:30 to 5. So I was up for about 24 hours, right? It was a long time. Um, I had work that day, so I was pretty much just exhausted, right? Well, on I would say 50 minutes on the drive out of the hour and 10 minutes, I was driving down the road. It was still kind of dark outside. Well, it was super dark outside, actually, not kind of. And basically, I just got tired. When you work 410s, I don't know, people are like, oh, 410s are awesome, man, you know. You work 4 days a week, you get 3 days off, but they do take a toll on you sleep wise. Because working 10 hours in a day, and usually with my 410s, I didn't work just 10 hours. It would be sometimes 11 or 12 hours. And a lot of the times, sorry, that's my phone. A lot of the times, I wouldn't really get good night's rest. So, not only would I be working 10, 11, 12 hours in those days that I worked, but I would also not really get that good of sleep either. Not defending whatever I did, but it was still, technically my fault. Nobody else's fault. I mean, you're getting tired while you sleep, pull over. Anyway, so I was about 50 minutes into the hour and 20 minute drive, and started getting tired. Slowly my eyes were just shutting, but I was like, oh, I'm not gonna fall asleep or anything. On this specific stretch of road, it was a little town called Mossy Head. Mossy Head doesn't really have too much stuff there. Maybe like a gas station, and it's an entire town. Literally just had a gas station, and that's it, I think. Another 5 minutes down the road, and the entire 5 minutes I was kind of just like, falling asleep at the wheel. Everything's all calm and relaxed. You're not worrying about traffic. You're just going down. And unluckily, I closed my eyes, and I didn't realize that I had closed my eyes for longer than what I thought I was. Like, for instance, to me, I thought I closed my eyes for maybe 2 seconds, but in reality, I was probably closing my eyes for 15 to 30 seconds. I can't tell because obviously I was falling asleep, but it was enough for me to veer off the road and hit a fence that was on the side of the road. Now, luckily, nobody else was injured. Nobody was on the roads, like I said. It was just me. Okay, so I hit the fence. So about 40 yards of fence got taken out. And I remember specifically when I was closing my eyes, I felt the rumbles on the road. Well, by the time my eyes opened up, I was already hitting the fence. And then right as I opened my eyes and I saw me hitting the fence, I instantly got knocked out. Everything went black. Everything. So, in that short span of time, my eyes were closed. I went off the road, probably slowly. And then by the time I felt something shaking my car, When I open my eyes, I instantly just black. Instantly. At this point, I'm knocked out in the car and the car is completely stopped. Um, the fence was kind of like one of those, I think they're called cow fences or something like that, where it's just like two posts and then two more posts going that way. It wasn't like one of those like privacy fences or anything like that. Um, so I think with those kind of fences, I never went back to go see it. By the way, it's been like 6 days afterwards. I haven't really left the hospital or the house because of obvious reasons. So the fence was definitely a little bit heftier than those privacy fences. My car was able to plow through 40 yards. I really don't know how it went that far in, without stopping before that. But to say the least, the fact that I was able to go through that and still wake up is incomprehensible. It's hard to understand that I was able to survive something like that, because those fences, me going through that could have instantly killed me. It could have either impaled me from the way I was hitting it. It could have, I could have hit it so hard that my brain instantly would have just shut down. Um, there's many ways that could have gone, but I was thankful that I hit it a certain way where I didn't end up like that. Um, anyway, so to further on to the story, after I get knocked out, I don't know how long I was sitting there for, unconscious in the car, but all I remember is being jolted awake and me being hunched over the steering wheel. Um, Now, the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was the car, the windshield, right? The windshield was cut in half. So half of this windshield in front of me of the driver's seat was completely forward. And then the other half was still intact, but it was completely shattered, right? When I woke up, I didn't believe it was real. It was one of those things where, something insane that you always see, but it never really happens to you. When it does happen, it's like your brain tries to deny it's even happening. At this point, I'm not really feeling pain. Um, I'm completely awake at this point, obviously, because when something like that happens, you're not still asleep. You're not tired anymore. You're more of like, holy shit, what happened? And at this point, I'm like, well, I need to see how badly I'm injured, right? So my first thought is I need to get out of this car to determine what I need to do next. So I pick myself up off the driver's seat. Driver's seat's right here. I was like this on top of it. But I pick myself up off the driver's seat and I'm sitting in the seat and I'm just kind of like sitting here like looking at everything in the seat. I see a bunch of blood on the passenger seat right next to me. I see blood on the dashboard right in front of me, and glass everywhere. And then I had stuff in the car and the center console, which is like thrown about everywhere, all over the car. So my first first way of getting out is the car door, right? So instantly I was like, there's no way this car door is opening. It has to be stuck. I'm going to have to get the ambulance out here to try to get me out, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to try that yet. Let me try to get my phone, because my phone was on the floor, just sitting there. I get my phone and then I try to turn it on, but I forgot that my phone died on the way to my house. So that was shit out of luck. I wasn't able to call the cops at this point. So I'm like, well, I gotta try to get the door next. What else am I gonna do, right? I'm not gonna climb out the freaking broken glass in front of me and get more injuries. So that was gonna be like a last case scenario if I really had to. Um, so I reach for the door handle and I can't find it for some reason. I think because my head was just so concussed. I was like, everything was still kind of like not real to me. So just trying to find the door handle itself was like, holy shit. I'm thinking about other things right now. Like, holy shit, I'm messed up right now. So at the time, I'm like, almost like I was blind almost, like blinded by how serious the moment was and how scared I was to be in this scenario. So I reach for the door handle. Eventually, I find it, and then luckily the door opens no problem. Um, so I slowly get out, and I could hear all the glass falling out of the door into the ground or the side of the road. So I get out of the car slowly, and I look at the car, and the car is absolutely totaled. Um, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find a picture of it, but the entire driver's side of the car was smashed in. Like, I don't know how to explain it better than that. It looked like, you know, if you were to take a piece of bread and then just smush it, it would look exactly like that. Like, everything was just crumpled in. The engine was messed up, the entire side. I was surprised the side of the door even opened in the first place because the fact that it took that much damage and opened like that just fine is insane. The airbags did not deploy, by the way. I don't know how it didn't deploy. Um, but that's besides the point. So I get out of the car, look at the car, and I see the car is all messed up. Um, and then this is the part that kind of really scared me and showed me how badly I was messed up. So the first thing I did after I saw the car was messed up was I took my hand and I ran it over my head like this. And I used to do that all the time when I had longer hair. So I did it that now to see exactly if my head was messed up. At this point, I had no idea my head was messed up. No idea. I had no idea where the blood was coming from. I had no idea what injuries were on me. I had no idea. I was more focused on holy shit, I got in a wreck. Um, so when I do this, I look down at my hand and I felt my hand when I was going back, feeling nothing but like almost like mountains, like big chunks of my head just missing. Nothing but fleshiness just feeling and blood pouring out of my head. Um, Graphic, by the way. Um, I won't be showing any of those pictures. I'm sure they're out there somewhere, you know, but I am not going to be showing them here because they are too graphic to show. Uh, so anyway, once I feel this and realize how bad I am injured, I immediately go into survival mode, if that makes sense. So I realized how bad I was, realized that I needed to do something to keep me awake until the police came to render aid or the paramedics came to render aid. So I knew if I would have just stayed there and waited, one, I don't know if anyone even knew that I got in a wreck. Because like I said, Mossy Head, where I got in a wreck, there's not many people around, man. The closest houses were a jog away, and something like that, people probably aren't going to hear it. And then, like I said, people earlier, when I was driving, there was no one on the road. So when I crashed, I didn't see or hear another vehicle anywhere. Um, and this is like in the woods, man. So basically, I thought I was going to die, um, to put it bluntly, because I didn't know when the paramedics were going to get there. I realized how much I was bleeding and how badly I was injured. I felt concussed. I've never been concussed before, but I have had like minor head injuries, nothing where I had to go to the hospital for anything, but I know nothing felt as scary as what I had on my head at this time of the wreck. Um, so I could feel me actively almost passing out at this point as well. So I was like, I need to go find someone's house ASAP if I can. So I remember I'm kind of familiar with the area where I crashed in, but so I knew there was a house not far from where I crashed. Like I said earlier, it was like a jog away. Um so that's what I did, right? I realized I needed to do something to not fall asleep. So I don't know if this is the brightest idea that I had, but I decided to jog. I jogged to that person's house. Um, there was a barbed wire fence that I had to jump, which I did. It wasn't that tall, so I don't think I was climbing a whole freaking wall to get over to this person's house or anything, but it was probably like 3 feet high, which I probably shouldn't have been jumping with the way my head and brain, what kind of state it was in. At this time, all I was worried about was not dying in the moment. Um, so I get to this person's house. Again, it's like pitch black. The only light that's on is the lights from the road, barely shining onto this person's house. But I think I got to the front door. I couldn't really tell the way that house was laid out. I'm assuming this was the front door, but I remember it was one of those glass doors that you swing open, and then the actual wooden door was right there. So I knock on the door, and I'm like, sir, I need somebody to come out here, um, or at least call the cops for me, because I was in a serious car accident and I might die soon. Um, that was very close to my exact words. I know for sure that I said, I might die soon. Because in this mindset, I really thought I was not going to be here in the next 10, 15, 20 minutes from how much blood was being lost. Um, but no one really responded to that. Uh, I don't blame them. If I was, you know, living in the middle of the woods and some random person came to my house in the middle of the night, well, it wasn't the middle of the night, it was in the morning, but either way, uh, I probably wouldn't react to it either. I mean, how do I know if this dude's being serious or not, right? So, in desperation on my attempt, I went around the house and kind of guesstimated on where the, master bedroom would be. Because I saw an AC unit in one of the windows, so I started really aggressively banging on the window where the AC unit was. And eventually the guy was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And it was some countryman, kind of older sounding. And I was like telling him, I told him straight up, I said, "Hey, I need the cops here. I got in a really bad accident. I'm probably going to die soon. Please hurry." And I specifically remember him saying, "Don't worry, buddy. The cops are on the way. I'm on the phone with them right now." At this point, I was so relieved that somebody had finally called the cops, but it was probably 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes since the crash happened, that I was kind of losing hope that they were going to get here on time. Because again, the cops, county cops, they take a little bit to get to a scene because, everything is woods. It takes a long time for anything to happen. So at this point, I tried to figure out something for me to do to not fall asleep. And I saw that he had a water spigot outside. So blood was just rushing down every part of my head. And at the end of the video, I'll kind of give you a sneak peek on top of this and what it looks like up here. I'm going to have a graphics warning because it is kind of still bad. I mean, it's not nearly as bad as it was, but there's still, obvious lacerations and shit up there. Um, just talking about this kind of gives me anxiety, man. So I turn on the water spigot, put my head underneath, and I just see nothing but red fall down. There was a lot of water coming out of that water spigot, but there was so much more blood that all it was red, like a red waterfall just over my eyes. Um, so I probably washed it under there for about 15, 20 seconds until it started getting somewhat clear where it wasn't just red. And I'm sure that dude's back porch was bloodied up everywhere. I have no doubt that it wasn't. Um, but that was the last thing I was worried about, right? I mean, I was just trying to survive at this point. Um, so after I do that, he hears me turn the water on, wash my hair, and he's like, "Hey, man, you need to sit down and not be standing up. You're gonna probably pass out." And I said, "No, sir. If I do that, I'm gonna pass out from sitting down, and I'm probably not gonna wake back up." So instinctively, I'm like, I need to get back to the wreck because that's where the cops are gonna go first. So the man is still trying to talk to me, but I took it upon myself to start running back to the crash site. Probably a stupid idea, but again, all I'm thinking about now is don't pass out, don't pass out, don't pass out. So I go back the same way I came, jumped over the same barbed wire fence, just like constantly feeling my head. I don't know why. I think because when I get injured like that, I'm like, oh my God, what the did I do? What did I do? Just regretting letting that happen. Um, so eventually, I get back to the car and I see headlights stopped in front of my car. And I'm like, thankfully, somebody is here. They saw it. Maybe they call the cops too, make sure that it's urgent so they get there fast. Um, Now, mind you, it's still pitch black. The man who stopped couldn't really see me in the shadows, but he's heard me. He said, "Hey, sir, you the one that got in this car accident?" And I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm hurt very badly." And he turned on his flashlight on his phone and looked at me. And the look on his face was utter horror. It was shock on how bad my head looked. Um, I could tell that he felt bad for me. Just the way that he looked at me and the way he was talking to me. I don't know if he thought I was going to die, but it definitely seemed like his demeanor was, I don't know if this kid's going to make it. It could be me just worrying, over worrying, but that's just what it seemed like. So he looks at me and he says, "Oh my God, you need to sit down right now." And I said, "Sir, if I sit down, I'm going to pass out." And he said, "Well, if you pass out standing up, you're going to end up with a lot worse injuries than if you were to pass out when you're sitting down." So, admittedly, I was like, "You're right. I need to sit down." So I sit down right next to the car, and my back was against the road, right? It felt like 15 to 20 minutes until the cops got there. It could have felt, it was probably sooner than that, but me just sitting there with that much, the pain was slowly starting to come in, right? Because my adrenaline was starting to wear off. I don't know exactly how long it took for the cops to get there or not, but I remember it felt like 15 to 20 minutes. But I remember just being so out of it because of the blood that I was losing, that I was like sitting next to the curb, like my head was just going everywhere, my eyes were closing, and it felt like I could pass out at any moment. But I remember in this moment, I was thinking of it in two ways. Either I can give up right now and just pass on and die. But then I started thinking about my family, my kid, my wife, and that spark inside me just didn't go. It got brighter. I wasn't going to give up. Something inside me told me, "You're not giving up, not this easily. You're going to fight to the last second, or I'll be damned." So that's what I did. I sat there internally battling. There was an ever-growing presence in my brain that was trying to shut it down, telling me just give up, give up, give up. But in my heart I knew if I were to give up, my family would be off in a worse position without me. So I needed to be here for them. So by the time the cops got there, I was sitting there telling them, I need you guys to render aid, please, because I'm fighting as hard as I can right now to stay awake. I don't want to die, but I feel like I'm probably going to. And the cop tells me, no, buddy, you're going to be all right. We're going to make sure you're all right. Don't think about that. You're losing a lot of blood. We're gonna wrap you up real nice. And then, well, the paramedics should be here in a minute. They're right behind us. The cops were very, very good at keeping my attention awake. At a point of where I was focusing on stuff like I'm going to pass out or whatever, they had my attention focused on other stuff so I wouldn't think about that and I wouldn't be in a constant state of like worrying, you know? And my heart was beating a million miles a second when the crash first happened. But at this point, when I was losing blood, it felt like it was starting to slow down because that's what happens when you're about to die. Seems like you're like drifting away almost. So the cops wrapped me up, and right after they wrapped me up, I remember saying a few things to them, and then I passed out, and I thought that was going to be the end of it. But luckily, I remember one of the cops in my ear saying, they're life flighting you. The helicopter is here. You're about to get transported. So that hope in my heart and that spark just grew brighter because I thought, now there's a chance. Now they can life flight me to somewhere that can actually take care of me and make sure that I am going to get the care that I need to survive. So I passed out, and then I don't remember anything past that point until when I was in the helicopter, they shoved some type of tube down my throat because apparently I was throwing up from the pain and me being on the verge of death, basically. They had to shove a tube down my throat to clear the puke out of my throat so I could breathe because I was choking on it. I felt that for maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and then I immediately passed out again. After that, I don't remember much until I woke up during the surgery they were doing on my head. Now, when they do surgery on your head, you're most of the time supposed to be out, right? They were having to patch up all the stuff that was messed up with my head. And I remember I didn't wake up till the very end of it, though. So thankfully, for the meat of it, I wasn't really awake. I was still passed out from the injuries. But I was awake till the very end. And I could tell the doctor knew I was up. He was like, oh, the patient is up. We need to get him back down. And then he was stapling the last bit of my head. And I said, ow, that really hurts. And he was like, well, we at least know that you can feel pain. And you're okay. You still have some feeling. And I said, yeah, I guess. So after that, I remember my mom and my stepdad coming in. And I talked to them a while. And I was telling them that I was very scared on where I'd end up if I died, if you know what I mean. I didn't know where I was going to go. But they assured me that I was okay and that things were going to work out for the best. It's really hard to talk about because I remember that part very specifically. I was scared. That was probably the scariest moment of my entire life, in that moment right there. So I don't know, I think I passed out again, or I just got tired from the pain medication they gave me, or something like that at this point. So I wake up in the actual hospital room, and they're adding something to my head. I think it's some kind of like ointment or something to make sure that the bleeding doesn't get too crazy or something like that. Um, so I wake up during that, and right now I'm not feeling any pain. I just wake up, and they were like, "Hey, man." It was the nurse. His name was Jeff. I remember that specifically. Great, great guy. He's like, "Hey, man, we just gave you a shit ton of pain medication, so you should be feeling okay. But if you feel any more pain, if you get nauseous, let me know, and we will come back and take care of that immediately." So I knew I was in good hands. They did an awesome job while I was in there. Hey guys, so obviously this is another day. Um, my head's starting hurting a little bit more when I was doing that recording, but I'm on some pain meds right now, so I'm feeling a little better. Anyway, so I'm gonna try to finish the rest of this video because a lot of this is kind of like, I don't know, it's important, but it's a little bit more hard to talk about, I think. So I think last I left off saying that uh, Jeff was the nurse that was taking care of me, and he was doing like a really good job. Like, all, hats off to him. He did a really good job taking care of me, made me feel like, I had nothing to worry about. And yeah, so I'm in the hospital at this point. Really, that first hospital trip, and yes, there was two. Um, I was very in and out of it, you know, very kind of like, you know, I wasn't really focused on a lot of shit when I was in there because I was constantly doped up. When you have a brain injury, they gotta dope you up with a lot of shit. A lot of shit. But at this point, there was so much shit being pumped into me that like I said, I don't really remember much, but I wasn't really feeling pain, so that's a plus. Um, so I spent 24 hours, I believe, in the hospital. The first like 12 hours or so, they're giving me like liquids and stuff, no solid foods yet because I was feeling really nauseous, and that was rough. Being used to getting solid foods every day, being told that you couldn't, and then all you get to eat is like soup and broth. It's not really my type of stuff. But so anyway, I'm veering off track. I'm trying to get this done. Um so they do a bunch of scans on me, make sure that I'm okay. They do physical therapy the next day. So I only spent 24 hours in there, and I was passing with flying colors. Like, they were like, "Wow, for the amount of damage that you did to yourself and how bad that wreck was, you are really good. Like, you could have had a mental disability. You could have been never be able to walk again. You could have been brain dead, a vegetable. All kinds of different things could have happened. But as far as we all know, my memory's fine. Um, I'm walking fine. Obviously, getting up too fast right now because of my head is still takes me a little time, but again, that's the least thing that I'm worried about. you know, Getting up, of course, is going to be slow when I'm super badly injured, but so yeah, next day rolls around. I pass all the tests, do all the physical therapy they want me to do, and then, had all my family visit me, figure out that I was all right, ask me if I needed anything, make sure I was comfortable. And the doctors came in, they said, well, you're looking pretty good, all things considered, and we'll get you released out today. So, of course, I'm kind of happy to get out of there, but I was almost nervous because of how bad the injuries were. I think everyone was kind of surprised when they said I was getting released in 24 hours, Like I was only in there for 24 hours and they were already trying to release me. So anyway, they released me, and I remember we went straight to the pharmacy to get my medication, and me and my wife go home, right? So you think it ends there, but it doesn't. It gets a little bit worse, right? So we're gonna be at the house for maybe 10 hours. And I fall asleep on my side, right? So the doctor was telling me that I should sleep on the back like this, just to avoid having any of that, you know, hold on, give me a sec. Any of that swelling to move. Well, they never specifically told me not to sleep any other way. They just said that I had swelling that could move, right? So, for the entire time I was in the hospital, I was constantly on my back like this. So I was a little tired of that, So I was like, well, I'm going to sleep on my side so I can finally get some good sleep. Because that was another thing. I was barely sleeping in the hospital too. Because they were constantly waking me up. Around 2:30 when I'm still at my house. I don't know why, by the way, but when I talk, my ear like hurts a lot. Like it's like super sensitive. Anyway, so I wake up at 2:30 a.m. and I'm like in the worst pain I felt yet, right? Head was throbbing. My entire face, by the way, when I woke up, from here all the way where my hand is covering, was completely swollen. So my eye, I couldn't even see out of my eye. My whole cheeks were swollen and everything was messed up. So I woke up my wife, and of course, we have our kid sleeping in the other room. And I was like, hey, we need to go to the hospital. I think it's getting worse. And of course, she's worried to death. Thought we were all good, is what the doctors told us. And we ended up going back to the hospital, but it was a different hospital this time. It was the one closest to us called Sacred Heart in Santa Rosa Beach, which is a long drive. There's not too many hospitals near where we live, obviously. So we go to Santa Rosa, Sacred Heart, and they're like, "What are you in for? What are you in for?" I tell them all that happened. Told them everything with the car crash, how the Fort Walton Beach Trauma Center took care of me, said I was good, but then this started happening. So immediately they give me morphine because they took my heart rate stuff and my vitals and all that and saw how much I was freaking out, right? And then they also give me another CT scan and a bunch of other scans to make sure nothing else was wrong with me. Well, guess what? Come to find out, I had brain bleeding. Now remember, the trauma center in Fort Walton released me, said I was totally okay to go home, right? Now the worst thing you can do is have brain bleeding untreated. So the fact that I'm being told in another hospital that not only do you have brain bleeding in your head now, and you might have to have another surgery for it to release that pressure, but you also have fractures all over my face that the other hospital didn't find. So at this point, they were telling me they couldn't work on me, and I had to go back to Fort Walton Beach because they had the only neurosurgeons there that could take a look at me very closely and also perform the surgery. My wife was very, very confused. She was going through her own mental battle of losing me. Uh, all the while, I'm also going through the same thing. I'm not gonna lie, I broke down mentally and started texting everyone saying that I might not make it. And the reason I was even thinking like that is because the hospital that I was at, Santa Rosa Sacred Heart, told me that, oh, we can't have you go and do your surgery until the shift changes for the ambulance. Now tell me how, when someone has as important as you're saying of a brain injury, that you have to wait for an ambulance shift change, which they said was hours away, to bring me to the hospital to fix what was wrong with me. So, man, this video is getting way too long. I'm sorry. I'm just really reliving it. It's like telling a war story almost. Although I'm not trying to compare my stuff to that. War stories are way more traumatic for the victims involved. I'm not trying to say anything about that, but so but this was traumatic for me. Knowing that could have probably been my last few moments really scared me. And there was points where I was hallucinating, and I thought I've had moments before in my past life, or in my past, sorry, not my past life, but just in my past, where I thought I hallucinated, right? But I know for sure that this was a hallucination because I've never had this happen to me before, ever. So when I was sitting in the hospital, after he told me about the brain bleeding and the fractures in the face, the lights started flickering in the hospital. And then I started hearing this weird noise in the left ear. It was my left ear. I couldn't hear it in my right ear. It was just in my left ear. My eyes were closed at this point, but you know how the light shines through your eyelid right here, and you could see it? Well, everything was flashing, and I was hearing this noise, and I couldn't make sense of what it was. And I really thought my life was being taken at that point, until I shot up, and my heart almost felt like it restarted. When I shot up, my eyes were open, and all I saw was my wife sitting next to my bed, and she looked scared on what I just did. And mentally I wanted to ask her, did you see and hear that? But I can tell that she didn't hear anything and didn't see anything. And to confirm that, I asked her the other day back at the house if she heard anything like that. And she said, no. That was you. That was all you. Nothing like that happened inside the hospital. So, it may not seem that important to you guys, but to me, it was a very, very scary experience. So, anyway, at this point, my parents are causing a very big deal about them not getting someone immediately out there to bring me to the hospital. And, while this is happening, the head doctor of the entire floor had to come out there and talk to my mom. And I'm not sure exactly, I can't remember what exactly was said, but he said something to calm her down. And, the paramedics eventually got there while he was talking to her. So it's almost like he got them to hurry up or something. So my mom works at this hospital as well, by the way. Um, so they give me an ambulance, and I go back to the Fort Walton Beach Trauma Center, which is also like an hour away, hour and 20 minutes away. Um, Everything is super far where I live at, man. That's what happens when you're in counties, I guess. So we go back to the Fort Walton Beach Trauma Center, and they're so surprised because a lot of people that were working on me while I was there the first time were there again, and they were like, why are you here? Why are you here?" And I told them all that was happening, and they were like, "That makes no sense. We scanned you twice, and you were totally fine." So, of course, they scanned me plus some. They did chest x-rays on me. They did both of my arms, which something in my arm right here and right here both hurt, but I don't know if they're broken or not. I don't think so. Obviously not, right? Because I can still move them. And then my middle finger here, there's a little bit of chunk taken out, which was a lot worse before, but it's healing, obviously. I mean, it happened however many days ago, right? So they took x-rays of this, that, my chest, of my head, gave me a CT scan again, and come to find out, the head neurosurgeon of the entire hospital comes to me and says, "No, there's no brain bleed." I don't know what they were looking at, but we had a whole team here of neurosurgeons look, and we don't see anything. Maybe some bruising, but nothing that they were talking about. At this point, you would think I'd be relieved, right? But I've had two different hospitals tell me two different things. So who am I to believe, right? They also told me no fractures. Hand is fine. Arms are fine. Chest is fine. Again, who do I believe? I guess the last person that told me what their last results were, right? So I'm kind of forced to believe Fort Walton at this point. So I just go along with it. And they said, "But while you're here, just to make 110% sure and to make sure that you feel comfortable, we're going to keep you here for another 24 hours. We're going to have you in a nicer room. We're going to make sure you're more comfortable. And we don't want you to feel worried because we don't think anything's going to happen to you." So at this point, I started to calm down. My heart was racing before, like super fast, because again, I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't know how to help myself. But now they were starting to relax me. So they get me a room, and as you expect, every 2 hours they're in that room, checking on me, making sure I'm okay, everything you would expect them to do. They give me medications, make sure I'm good, and 24 hours passes by, and I'm out again. Good thing is, ever since I've been released, I have been somewhat okay. My head doesn't look nearly as bad as it did, so it's healing pretty alright. I got staples right here. You probably see the shining of the metal. Yeah. But that's really, I mean, that was mostly all that trip went. They gave me some new pain medication that actually worked, thank God. The last one kind of sucked. They gave me 3 medications that were very low dosage for whatever reason. I'm a freaking brain injury victim, whatever you call it. And they gave me some pretty low dosage stuff, which is, again, I don't understand that at all, but I mean, you do you. But this time when I got released, they gave me some very powerful medications. So right now, I don't feel any pain at all, which is phenomenal. I'm very happy about that because the first, however many hours I was home, the first time I got released, I was in, a lot of pain kind of all the time. And the pain medication would only dull it for maybe an hour. But this new stuff seems to be working for a while. Um, so to kind of end the story, uh, I've had everyone kind of like contact me and come by my house and make sure I was all right. Um, a lot of get well cards, a lot of messages, calls. So as of right now, everything is okay. Um, I'm kind of just at the house, not doing shit, just sleeping, constantly sleeping because I need all the rest I can get, really. They told me to like walk around and stuff. You would think when you have like a concussion and a brain injury and all that stuff, they'd want you to lay down the entire time, but I specifically remember multiple nurses and the doctor telling me try to like get somewhat of some kind of exercise an hour a day. So they said, it's as simple as just walking or just doing something of the sort. So every day I've been kind of just like walking around the house, going outside, walking around the yard, getting some fresh air and stuff, and it has been helping, I think. At least mentally it has. Just being cooped up in a house, not doing anything but sleeping can take a toll on you. So, yeah, that's mostly my story, man. Um, I think totally if we're going by what injuries I had a whole piece of paperwork on it, but obviously my head, you can see like, not really, you can't see, but I'm going to tell you. There is one big, big opening from like right here to like right here where my hair is cut that they had to put staples in all around. Um, I can't really remember exactly where the other ones are at, but you can see one right here has staples. One right here has staples. I'm not going to touch it. There was another two right here and one right here that all has staples. Um, Thankfully, my shitty camera can't really pick it up because it would look a lot worse. And also it didn't look nearly as bad. I know I've said like 100 times, but it looks not nearly as bad as the first few days when the wreck happened. Obviously you saw my hand right here. That is healed up pretty nicely. My arm right here was bruised really bad. It seemed to have gotten a little better. Let's see. There's a little bruise on top. You can't really tell from my camera either. I think from yesterday's recording when I did it, you can kind of tell when the wreck happened, the glass peppered into my face. So there was like little specks, like one right here. It basically just like created a bunch of like specks of like abrasions kind of all over my face. On this hand, you see a bruise right here. Here, let's do like that. Damn, this hand's actually healed up pretty good. There was a shit ton of blood on my fingernails, but I guess I washed that out. I took like 100 showers since I got home. Yeah, I can definitely feel pain right here a lot, but on the pain pills not so much. And there's a little gash right here. I'm not gonna show my chest, but my chest for the most part was okay. But my stomach, for some reason, had a lot of glass particles like shoved into it. I don't know how that happened because the windshield goes like this. I don't know. But enough of the injuries and all that stuff. So that's basically my, entirety of the story of that. Just a couple of things before I end this video. I just wanted to say that I'm extremely, extremely grateful. I know I said it in the beginning of the video, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. All you guys that reached out, left a comment on that post that I made, telling me to get better, sending me your best wishes. It helped more than all of you know. Like I said, I was in a really dark place while I was in the hospital, and I kind of reevaluated my entire life, and but the only thing that crash did was solidify how much my community means to me, and how much of that support you guys gave to me actually helped me and pushed me through that mental barrier that I was having while I was in the hospital. I really appreciate everything you guys did. I love you guys, and I will never leave YouTube as long as I have you guys. You guys make it 110% worth it. 10K is coming up. Like I said earlier, I didn't really expect me to be hitting 10K while I was in the hospital. Well, we didn't hit 10K, right? We're almost there, though. Let me see where we're at. We're at 9.99K, which is super close. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I mean, the views have been outstanding. I mean, compared to what we were a year ago, like just seeing how big the videos get sometimes, like, God, what was the last video that got huge? I think it was the NCR, like, stormed Nellis Air Force Base. That one got huge for some reason. Like, huge. Let's see how many views it has. 77K. And that one was released a month ago. That's awesome. You guys are freaking awesome. All of you guys that are out there commenting on those videos, leaving a like button, all that stuff, it really means so much to me. The fact that, you know, I did NPC battles when I was a kid, when Fallout New Vegas first came out. I was doing it on console. How do you even do that anymore? I don't even know. I just remember there was some like modding site to add that ability to do that, and it was so janky. But doing that as a kid to doing it now, and like seeing where we're at, it's insane. I would have never pictured hitting 10K from doing NPC battles. But it's something I love doing with you guys and seeing you guys' reactions. And I'm not going to be stopping it anytime soon, that's for sure. I want to somehow, when I get better, do like some kind of like live streaming event with NPC battles. I'm not really sure how I would do that format just yet, but if you guys can give me like suggestions, that would be freaking awesome. Because right now I want to get like another monitor, move this one over here, have a 32-inch right here, and then kind of just have like your guys' live recommendations or something. That would be really cool, right? Maybe just be like, oh, my chatter said Legate Lanius versus Legendary Rad Scorpion or something like that, and then do it while everyone's watching live. And you guys can give me tips on like how to set them up and stuff. I think that would be really cool. But or I even know sometimes, you know, there's a way to like when someone donates, it automatically adds an NPC to the game. I think some streamer used to do that with Skyrim. Like things would just spawn in when people would donate or say something. That would be super cool, man. I would really like to do that. But also for the 10K, you guys let me know what you guys want me to do. It's going to be a little bit before I'm actually able to make a 10K video for obvious reasons. But if you guys just like tell me what's like you want for the 10K video, I'll absolutely, you know, get to work on it when I'm feeling a little better. I'm trying to think of what else besides the 10K. Closing up, my camera keeps doing this. I don't know why. But come on, go up. Yeah, I'm probably, since I'm sitting around the house not really doing much, I'm probably gonna start working on videos. I can't really wear my headphones because my head gets too pressurized with those on. But I mean, I can still work on videos. I'm not really doing anything else besides sleeping, like I said. So I want to do something. And, you know, like I said, doing NPC videos or sound like difficult videos. But I'm going to be working on something, you know. So probably going to go back to YouTube sooner than what I thought. Probably make a couple of videos just like for fun. while you guys figure out what you want for your 10K sub video. I didn't really have anything planned because, the wreck kind of got in the way. But anyway, I appreciate all you guys tuning in, listening to the story and the update on the channel and all that, and listening to me talk. I know it's somewhat unbearable, I'm sure. It's been like an hour of footage. But I really appreciate you guys. Stay tuned. I'm not going anywhere. There's going to be much more content coming out. And thank you guys for all your support. Thank you.